Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I woke up 2 hours late this morning and I've got to leave from my lesson in an hour, so let's see if we can get this done in that time because I am very stressed. In today's video I'm going to be going through some of my favourite books that I've read. There is a bug next to me. My favourite books that I've read pretty much ever. They're mostly like within the past couple of years because obviously things I read when I was like 8 probably won't make it in here, but I got some fiction and I got some non-fiction, so let's just get into this. So we'll start with fiction. Number 1 is One of Us is Lying. So it's by Karen McManus. That's how you say her name. Basically it's sort of like, I feel like for a lot of these books there will be like a book review on my blog, which is here. You can read a more detailed, in-depth review on what I actually thought of the books, and I think this might have been my first one. So this is like Breakfast Club meets murder mystery type thing. So some kids go into detention and the loser dies and all of the kids are suspects, and you just go through this whole process of no one knows who it is. The kids don't know if it's each other or not, and they're trying to, like, with the media and everything, trying to get by because each one of them knows that like they did or they didn't do it. So it's really good, and it's good because it keeps you guessing throughout the whole book, and even when you think you have it, it's probably different, and when you do have it you'll probably change it because you probably won't think it's who you think it is, if that makes sense. But this is a really entertaining book and very lots of tension. They have got really good stories for each of the characters. The characters are not empty. There's romance between some of the characters and just relationships and, you know, personal journeys and stuff, which is really good. It's really nice. So this is first one. The next one is one I read for English this year, and it's called In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, and it's based on a true story of a family who lived in Kansas, and the family was murdered, and you kind of get two different stories, especially at the beginning. You get the story of the family and what they're doing, and you get the story of the two killers, but I don't think you know that the two killers are you don't get explicitly told that those two are the killers, I don't think. But you kind of guess from context that these two must be the ones that killed everyone. And you also, once the family's obviously dead, you get their perspective becomes a perspective of the police and stuff. And it's sort of like this big chase around like a couple of the southern states. And it's just really, 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 really interesting. And it's written in a really, really good way. I'll quickly just read you like a part of the blurb. On the 15th of November 1959, in the small town of Holcomb, Kansas, a wealthy farmer, his wife and their 2 young children were found brutally murdered. Blood all over the walls, the telephone lines cut, and only a few dollars stolen. Heading up the investigation is Agent Al Dewey, but all he has are 2 footprints, 4 bodies, and a whole lot of questions. There's this one really good line where it's like that four gunshots killed 6 people, ended 6 lives and stuff, and like you just, it's a really, really interesting book. I could talk about this for so long. Just the stories behind the 2 killers and how different and also similar they are, and how their lives, and it's kind of frustrating because you understand their lives a lot more, especially one of them, because I think the author had more of a bias to one of them when he was collecting his research, and so you do feel kind of bad for him, you feel sorry for him. But also, like, you're quickly reminded when you switch back to the stories that, like, this is what they did. And it's weird because you don't find out till the end, till later on why, but they killed these people and don't even steal much. Like, random things here and there are gone. So there's no real motive. There wasn't much of a link. It's just, it all comes together in a really interesting way throughout the book. And some parts of it is kind of a bit long, but you do get a lot of like action bits, like not action but like things happen, and it's really, really again, and kind of tense, and I think really like dragging on some of the parts really just emphasizes how tense some bits get. So it might be like a little bit frustrating to read, but it's worth it. because the bits that the climaxes that come after are just really good. The next one is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, and I read this almost 3 years ago. It is such a good book. It's been a while since I've watched it. Read it or watched it, because this is a film, so I read it and then watched it with my parents. It's been a while, so I don't remember exactly everything that happened in it, but I just remember it being like a really good book. It explores the life of this girl named Star. I think her name is Star. And it really just highlights so many of the issues and inequalities when it comes to black families, and how they're really awfully treated by the system, by the police, just because of, you know, like the colour of their skin and where they end up living. And, you know, Star goes to a predominantly white school outside of her neighbourhood, and she can really like see the contrasts between the people and how people at her school react to things happening in her neighbourhood, like people getting killed by the police and things like that. And it's just really interesting. It's slowly coming back to me, and it's just one of the most amazing books I've read, and it's written so well. So there is a movie, so if you don't want to read and you want to watch instead, or you want to read and watch, I don't know where you can find it. I don't remember where we watched it, but it's also a really good movie. But I do think reading the book first is better for this. Not everything, don't worry, I'm not going to be like, read the book first, but for this I think you should. And it's a decent sized book, but I got through it really quickly. I remember taking this on holiday, and I read like 2 or 3 books that holiday, and we were gone for like 2 weeks. And so this is one of the ones I read. It took me a couple days, and it wasn't like I was just sitting reading all day. Like, we were doing other things, but I just got through it so quickly. So amazing book, it's so good. So the last book I have in the fiction section is The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. So I also had to read this for my English. If you guys have watched some of my other like vlogs and stuff, you will know that I had to read this over the summer. So I did, and I don't want to say I loved it, because it was there's so many not great parts about the book, but it's just so good. So it's set I think right towards the end of slavery, and more into like segregation and stuff. And it focuses mainly on this girl called Celie, and just the things that she goes through are, I don't want to like say them out loud because they're so awful. Like, this is a very it can be quite a triggering book for some, I think. And they're told, especially like within the first few pages, they're told with such, it is so explicitly. And also she is so young at the beginning of this book that it's crazy to hear these things that she's saying, and everything is sort of like a diary entry addressed either to God or to her sister Nettie, and she starts addressing them to Nettie later on because her and Nettie sort of get separated. There's like this whole issue, sorry my necklace has been wrong the whole time, issue with who they end up marrying, and she has to go to different, ends up in a different country. She ends up in England and then Africa, and then they start writing to each other again. And so we hear a lot from Nettie's point of view later on as well, which is nice. It's like a nice change of scenery, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of like really good bits and some funny bits as well, which it kind of helps balance out some things, but also like it doesn't overshadow like the awful traumatic things that she went through. It's just a really good book to read, especially for someone like me. Like I don't have like an extensive understanding of times like segregation and like Jim Crow and all that, so this was a really educating book as well, not in terms of like facts and statistics, but like real people's stories. And there's also a movie of this, and I think Celie is played by Whoopi Goldberg, I think, but it's a good movie as well. And I think I got kind of lost a couple times in the book, and so the film helped like reinforce what I'd read. So again, really good book, everyone should read. So that's all I have for fiction. I'm going to move on to non-fiction. So you guys have seen this like so many times on my Instagram. This is called The Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. I'm currently reading the second one to it, Worth Dying For, which is about flags and stuff, but I haven't gotten very far because I'm back at college now. But yeah, Prisoners of Geography, so good. If you want to know anything about geopolitics, or why we go to war with some countries, or why other countries are just destined to be in conflict with each other forever, like if you want to know anything at all, read this book. And if you have zero prior knowledge, you can still read this book. Like, it's, again, I have a review of this one on my blog where I went through like all of the really good points about it. But this, obviously I like do geography, and so it's really interesting to me, obviously. But even if you don't, I think it's just a really insightful book to like just have some general knowledge. It goes into detail, but not extreme detail where you're going to get lost, or you're going to find it like suddenly uninteresting or anything. I mean, you might, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I think it's quite unlikely. It's just good to get some general knowledge about how the world works, and it's pretty short as well. And you know, if you don't know where places are, there's maps at the beginning of every chapter, like here, so you can, and they're easy to refer back to if they're talking about somewhere you need to go back, and everything is just really well explained and stuff. So good book. Finally, the last book I have is one of my absolute favorites, and it is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Oh, this book is so good. It is so good. So it's Michelle Obama's autobiography, so she wrote it, and she goes through so much stuff. She goes through, you know, right from when she was a kid and her growing up on the South Side in Chicago, her life, her family life, how her, you know, career and stuff pre-Obama and presidency stuff. So it really goes into detail about so much of her life, and she really, like, you know, reflects back, and like you can see that what she learned from those experiences, and how like it's sort of made her who she is today. And obviously she talks about Barack Obama, you know, meeting him, that whole thing, like everything pre the Obama like administration and stuff, like everything before that, how they met, struggles they had in their relationship, you know, talks about family and stuff, and you know, the whole campaign running for president, that was crazy. But she obviously goes through it in like such, she's very open when she talks about things, which is, I love that so much. And then obviously she talks a bit at the end about what life is going to be like now. When was this written? 2018, so 2 years after the presidency ended. And she talks about like the future and what is in store now for the Obama family. She talks a lot about her kids. It's just, she talks about so much in such an open way, and it's so, she has such a conversational tone. It's just really good, like really good. It just sounds like you're just talking to her as a friend, which I love. One of my favorite autobiographies ever, and obviously it's Michelle Obama, she's like a queen, so lots and lots to learn from her, so much to learn. And also in the middle she's got like pictures and stuff, which is nice. Nice to put names to faces and stuff. And I really love the way that, like, one of the things I liked most was when she talks about how they transitioned into living at the White House, and just the way that they were treating everyone there, and the changes that they made and stuff. It's just phenomenal, and I just really hope that something happens this November and we can get Trump out, so we can get some kind of decent people in. I'm not going to say decent people because Bernie Sanders is not running anymore, but more decent people, and hopefully we can go back to something that was similar to this, because yeah, it might not have been perfect, but definitely a million times better than it is right now. And also we should have people like this. Like, there's so many misconceptions about Barack Obama and what he stood for and stuff, and he, reading this, obviously it's kind of biased because it's his wife talking about this, but you just learn so much about him as a person, which is crazy. Like, I just did not know any of these things about Obama. Like, I thought he was a really good person, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people had some not great things to say about him and stuff, but reading this, like, you can see a lot of the reasoning behind the choices that he made whilst he was president and pre being becoming president. Just both of them are just so different from each other, extremely different from each other, but just such interesting people. Sadly, my least favourite part of this was when Michelle explicitly said that she would not be running for president ever because she does not like politics, ironically. So devastating and crushing, but I get it. So I hope I spoke about these enough. I'm not sure because, like I said, I'm running kind of late and I did want to get this done this morning because I won't have another chance. But yeah, I hope this was a nice way, like, you know, that we're in the last quarter of the year. It's a nice way to consolidate some of my reading that I've done. The bulk of it I did this year. I think 4 out of the 6 books, so 2/3 of the reading I had done this year. And I hope, like, this gives you guys some ideas if you want to start reading more, or there's other books that you want to try and read. You just need recommendations, read this. And I think for all of them apart from these 2 that I did for English, for all of the other ones there are like in-depth reviews on my blog, so you can go and read those there if you want to get some more detailed information. But yeah, if you guys have read any of these, or if you read them after this video, please tell me guys what you think about them, because I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions and we can talk about them and it'll be really fun. If you guys have any recommendations for me to read, let me know. So right now I'm reading, like I said, the Flags book, and I think afterwards I might read Sapiens because that sounds like a really interesting book. I'm kind of like going through, like, kind of on like a non-fiction reading train at the moment, so I want to like ride this out for as long as possible. But yeah, if you guys have anything you want me to read, let me know, DM me, email me, tell me in person if you know me, whatever. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys in the next one.